My name is Summer. I'm 30 years old, and last week I walked into what I thought was my birthday party, only to realize I had walked into a trial, a courtroom disguised as a dinner. 75 relatives stared at me, not a single smile among them. My father handed me a red folder containing DNA results, his voice cold and precise. "You're not ours. Pay us back." My mother snatched my car keys before I could even comprehend what was happening. My sister filmed the entire thing for TikTok, her eyes alight with excitement as if my pain were a performance. I stood there, surrounded by the people I had called family for 3 decades, and not one of them spoke in my defense. Not one. But then, from the shadows of the restaurant, a man stepped forward. A man my parents had sworn had been dead before I was even born. A man with silver-streaked hair, strong jaw, and eyes that mirrored my own. My biological father. And he didn't come empty-handed. Before I continue, if you're following this story, take a moment. Like, subscribe, and comment. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Not for the algorithm, not for clout, but because this story is about to get worse and better in ways I couldn't have imagined. It all started 4 weeks before my birthday. I was charting vitals in the ICU break room when my phone buzzed. It was Brianna, my younger sister. She never called unless she needed something: money, a ride, a sounding board for some influencer drama. "Summer, oh my God, you won't believe this!" Her voice cracked with excitement. "What's going on?" I kept my voice low, careful not to wake the patient whose monitor beeped insistently beside me. Night shift meant walking on eggshells. "Mom and Dad are throwing you a surprise party for your 30th. Everyone's invited. Aunt Dorothy, Uncle Robert, cousins from Ohio, literally the whole family." I almost dropped my coffee. A birthday party? For me? 30 years of birthdays, not one party, and suddenly they were going all out? Brianna's own 21st birthday had been a $15,000 extravaganza at the Riverside Country Club. Hundreds of guests, a 5-tiered cake, Dad's speech about how proud he was of his little princess. My 21st? A quiet dinner at home, Mom's meatloaf, Dad's vague compliments, and a hollow, "Money's tight this year, sweetheart, you understand, right?" "Are you sure?" I asked cautiously. "Mom and Dad don't really do parties for me." "I know, right? That's what makes it special. They said turning 30 is a big deal. They want to do something nice." Brianna paused, then whispered, "You have to act surprised." I promised I would. After we hung up, I stared at my lukewarm coffee, wondering if this was real. Could my parents actually be trying? Could they have finally noticed me? The week before the party, I did what I always do, ran the numbers. 7 years as an ICU nurse, 7 years of 12-hour shifts, code blues, holding strangers' hands as they took their last breath, guiding families through impossible grief. Every month, I had sent $500 home to help my parents. 7 years, $42,000 in total. I never asked for it back, never mentioned it. That's what family does, right? Meanwhile, Brianna, with 50,000 Instagram followers and no paying job, still lived in our parents' basement. Last month, she asked Dad for $8,000 to invest in her content creation business. He wrote the check without hesitation. When my car broke down 3 years ago, I asked to borrow $2,000 for a down payment on a used Honda. Dad looked at me as if I'd asked for a kidney. "You're capable, Summer. Figure it out." I figured it out, took out a loan, worked extra shifts, paid it myself. Mom's voice echoed in my head. "Bree is finding herself. You don't need anything." Translation, "You are invisible." I had long accepted my role. The capable one, the one who could be ignored. 3 days before the party, an email changed everything. I was being considered for the charge nurse position. The interview was in 2 weeks. Everything I had worked for, everything I had sacrificed was within reach. But the hospital required a professional recommendation letter. My manager suggested someone with board connections. "Your father used to be on our board, right?" she asked. I called Dad. "A recommendation letter?" He sounded pleased. "Of course, sweetheart. I'll give it to you at your birthday party. Make it special. A father presenting his daughter's future to the family." Something about his tone was off. Too smooth, rehearsed, but I brushed it off. 30 was a milestone. This was it. Maybe they finally saw me. I bought a navy blue dress for the party. Elegant but understated, professional but beautiful. I even brought a gift, a leather-bound photo album filled with family memories. Laughable, yes, but that was me, giving, hoping, trying to earn what should have been freely given. The Grand Oak restaurant glittered like a promise. Chandeliers glowed, shadows danced, laughter echoed faintly through glass doors. I rehearsed my surprised face in the car, a hand over my heart, eyes wide. I wanted to believe it was real. The hostess directed me to a private room, the Patterson party. I opened the doors, silence. No balloons, no streamers, no surprise, just 75 faces staring, eyes cold, expressionless. Uncle Robert's arms were crossed, jaw tight. Aunt Dorothy clutched her purse like a shield. Cousins I barely remembered scowled. And at the center, a long table, stark and bare, except for a single red folder. Mom and Dad stood behind it like prosecutors at a bench. Dad's voice cut through the room. "Summer, sit. We need to talk." I obeyed. My stomach knotted. Dad opened the red folder and held up a document. "This is a DNA test. You are not our biological daughter." Whispers erupted, gasps, murmurs. Someone muttered, "I always knew something was off." "What?" I clutched the armrest. "That's impossible." Mom stepped forward, twisted in rage. "You never were. We took you in. We raised you. And how did you repay us?" Dad gestured toward the room. "We have witnesses." Witnesses to what? I wanted to scream, but then my father pulled out another sheet, a spreadsheet of every dollar they had spent raising me, $500,000, and they wanted it back. Before I could respond, Mom lunged and snatched my car keys. Brianna shoved her phone into my face. "This is amazing content," she whispered gleefully. I was trapped. My own birthday turned into a public trial. That's when I noticed him, a man in a gray suit, silver-streaked hair, standing near the exit. His eyes locked on me, not with judgment, but with something like pain, longing, recognition. "Summer," his voice cut through the tension, deep, calm, commanding. "I am Marcus Whitfield, and I am your biological father." The room exploded. Phones flashed. Relatives gasped. My biological father was alive. Not only alive, he had been waiting. Dad paled. Mom stammered. Gerald, their accomplice in this twisted theater, froze. Marcus's assistant, a young woman with a manila folder, hovered behind him, checking the time. Marcus held my gaze. "You are not alone." I asked the question I had buried for 30 years. If they're dead, who did you use for the DNA comparison? Silence. "DNA tests require a comparison," I pressed. "Whose DNA did you use?" Dad froze. Mom's face went white. The logic was undeniable. One of my biological parents might not be dead at all. Marcus stepped closer. Dad's fear was palpable. "Would you like me to tell her the truth?" Marcus asked, calm but ice cold. I realized then that Dad's control had limits. The truth had arrived, and it was mine to hear. Marcus told me about my mother, Catherine Hayes. She loved me. She had fought to keep me, but her family disapproved. They forced her to relinquish me. My adoptive parents were paid for the arrangement, but not out of malice. They had promised to give me a good life, but they lied to me for 30 years, hiding the truth. He handed me an envelope. Inside, a letter from Catherine, written in elegant, familiar handwriting. Her words wrapped around me. I was never unwanted. I was never a mistake. For the first time that night, I didn't feel alone. I felt found. Marcus revealed the truth about the money. Every month for 28 years, he had transferred funds to my adoptive parents, $504,000. They had lied, threatened, humiliated me, all while sitting on my life's safety net. The room fell silent. My parents had used me as a pawn to protect themselves, while my sister broadcast my pain for clout, and the 75 people who called themselves family, spectators to betrayal. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I walked out, not in anger, but in clarity. 3 months later, I signed the lease for my own apartment. Not fancy, but mine. Every penny was earned. Marcus offered help with the down payment. I refused. He understood. Our bond wasn't built on money, but presence. We established rituals, coffee every Sunday at the bean counter, sitting in the same corner Catherine and I once occupied, 6 hours assembling IKEA furniture on moving day, crooked bookshelves, laughter, quiet strength. Slowly, a relationship formed. Not father-daughter yet, but a foundation. I spoke to Dorothy occasionally. She sent recipes, asked about work, never mentioned the party. She was trying to make amends in her own way. I do not speak to my adoptive parents or Brianna, not out of hate, but because I've learned some relationships cannot be repaired, they can only be survived. I am 30. I have a career I love, an apartment that's mine, a biological father learning to be present, and a future I'm writing myself. The Pattersons wanted to destroy me. Instead, they set me free. That is the only gift they ever truly gave me.